Growing up in a small town in Georgia, where tradition ran as deep as the oak trees and change moved as slow as molasses, I learned early on that being different meant being alone. The whispers in school hallways, the cold shoulders at church, and the sideways glances at the local diner, they all told the same story. A black, gay teenager didn't belong here. Every morning, I'd walk through those high school doors wearing invisible armor, bracing myself for another day of subtle jabs and not so subtle exclusion. The football team had their special way of making sure I knew my place. Empty tables at lunch, accidentally knocked books, and social media posts that cut deeper than any physical wound could. But beneath the pain and isolation, something else was brewing. Each taunt, each lonely weekend, each tearful night became fuel for a fire that would eventually light up the darkest corners of my dreams. While they were busy making me feel small, I was quietly building an empire in my mind. 10 years later, I stand before the same high school, but everything feels different. The Tesla I'm driving isn't just a car, it's a statement. The suit I'm wearing isn't just fabric, it's armor of a different kind. The tech company I built from scratch isn't just successful, it's revolutionary. And the invitation to speak at the town's annual business summit isn't just an opportunity, it's poetic justice. Walking through downtown, I notice how little has changed. The same antique shop where Mrs. Peterson used to shoo me away, claiming I was suspicious. The diner where the owner always seemed to forget my order. The park bench where I used to sit alone, drawing up business plans in my worn notebook, while others my age were living their best teenage lives. But something has shifted. The whispers are different now. Is that really him? Did you hear about his company? Wasn't he that quiet kid who, the same people who once avoided eye contact now strain their necks to catch a glimpse? The same hands that once pushed me away now reach out for handshakes. The familiar weight of prejudice has been replaced by something heavier, success. And as I prepare to take the stage at the summit, I can't help but think about that scared teenager who once dreamed of this moment. The boy who found strength in solitude, purpose in pain, and determination in discrimination. What these people don't know is that I'm not here for revenge. I'm not here to gloat or to shame. I'm here for something far more important, something that will leave this town speechless for reasons they never saw coming. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't serving it cold, it's serving it with a side of hope. As I adjust my tie and check my presentation one last time, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. Behind me, the sun sets on Main Street, casting long shadows that remind me of darker days. But what I'm about to reveal will change everything, not just for me, but for every kid in this town who's ever felt different, dismissed, or disposable. They say you can never go home again, but sometimes going home is just the beginning of a much bigger story. Standing at the podium, I scan the crowded auditorium. Familiar faces dot the audience, former teachers, classmates, and townspeople who once turned their backs. In the front row sits Mr. Thompson, my old high school principal, who always seemed to be too busy when I reported bullying. Next to him is Mrs. Carter, the guidance counselor who suggested I tone down my personality to fit in better. Taking a deep breath, I begin my presentation, but not with the expected tech industry success story they're all anticipating. Instead, I pull up a photo on the giant screen behind me, a grainy image from a decade ago. It shows an empty school cafeteria table, a lonely lunch tray, and a single student. Me. This photograph, I say, my voice steady despite the emotion building in my throat, was taken by a student who thought it was funny to document my isolation. They posted it online with a caption that read, "Where he belongs." That post got 127 likes from my classmates. The uncomfortable shuffling in the audience is audible. Some faces drop in shame, others pretend to check their phones. But I'm not here to make them squirm, at least, not only for that reason. What that photographer didn't capture was what I was writing in my notebook that day. While they were busy documenting my loneliness, I was drafting the initial concept for what would become a $50 million company. A company that has now created a revolutionary app helping LGBTQ plus youth find safe spaces, support, and opportunities in their communities. The energy in the room shifts. People lean forward in their seats. I notice a few current high school students sitting in the back, their eyes wide with recognition. One of them, a young person with bright purple hair, nods slowly, understanding washing over their face. But I'm not here today to talk about my success or your failure to see my potential. I'm here because this town has a choice to make. You see, my company is looking to build its new headquarters, creating over 500 jobs and pumping millions into the local economy. Several cities are competing for this opportunity. The mayor, sitting in the VIP section, suddenly sits up straighter. The local business owners exchange glances. This is the kind of development our struggling town desperately needs. However, I continue, pulling up another slide. Before I announce our decision, I need to share something else. Something that will challenge everything you think you know about our community, about acceptance, and about the true cost of intolerance. My hand hovers over the laptop, ready to reveal the next slide. In the front row, I notice my former tormentors from the football team, now respected business owners themselves, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. What they don't realize is that the next slide contains information that will force everyone in this room to confront their past and their present in ways they never expected. The next slide flickers to life, revealing a college of social media posts, recent ones from the past month. Posts showing current students experiencing the same isolation and prejudice I once faced. Comments filled with subtle mockery, exclusion from events, and whispered judgments. The crowd gasps as they recognize their own children's names among those spreading hate. While you've been celebrating your town's supposed progress, I continue, my voice unwavering. History has been repeating itself. But this time, I've been watching. My company's AI-powered social monitoring tool has been tracking bullying patterns in schools across the country. And guess what? Our town ranks in the top 5% for discriminatory behavior. The data spreads across the screen, charts, graphs, and statistics painting an undeniable picture. Parents squirm as they recognize their children's online aliases. Teachers exchange concerned glances as they realize how much they've missed or chosen to ignore. I click to the next slide, revealing a series of anonymous letters from current students. These are real stories from teenagers in this room right now. Students who are considering dropping out. Students who cry themselves to sleep. Students who, my voice catches, students who have contemplated suicide because they don't fit your narrow definition of normal. The purple-haired student in the back wipes away tears. Others around them offer subtle gestures of support. A hand on a shoulder, a passed tissue. The atmosphere of the room grows heavier with each revelation. Now about that headquarters decision. I say, pulling up architectural renderings of a stunning modern building. We've already purchased land on the outskirts of town. The contracts are signed. The jobs are coming. But there's a catch. A condition that will change everything. The mayor leans forward, his expression a mix of hope and anxiety. The business owners who once bullied me exchange nervous glances. My former teachers grip their seats, perhaps finally understanding the full weight of their past inaction. Before I reveal this condition, I continue, reaching into my briefcase. I want to share one final piece of evidence, something that will make you question everything you think you know about your children, your neighbors, and yourselves. Something that will force this town to make a choice, evolve or die. As I pull out a sealed envelope, the room holds its collective breath. In my hands lies the power to reshape this community's future, to challenge its deepest held beliefs, and to finally break the cycle of prejudice that has haunted these streets for generations. The envelope trembles slightly in my fingers as I begin to open it. Inside the envelope, I withdraw a single USB drive. 10 years ago, I explain, clicking it into my laptop. I installed cameras in my locker, recording every incident of bullying. What you're about to see isn't just my story. It's evidence of systemic failure. The screen flickers to life, showing split-screen footage. On one side, decade-old recordings of my torment. On the other, eerily similar scenes from last week. Different faces, same cruelty. Several people in the audience gasp as they recognize themselves in the old footage, now watching their own children perpetuate the same behaviors. But here's what none of you know. I say, pressing another button. My company's headquarters. It's not just bringing jobs. We're building the nation's first LGBTQ plus youth technology training center. Every marginalized kid in this town will have access to free coding classes, mentorship, and career opportunities. The room erupts in murmurs. Conservative business owners shift uncomfortably. Then, unexpectedly, the purple-haired student stands up. I have something to say, they announce, voice shaking. That youth center, I helped design it. I've been working with them secretly for months. More students stand, one by one, each wearing a small rainbow pin, members of a hidden LGBTQ plus student group I've been mentoring online. The mayor's daughter among them, tears streaming down her face as she finally shows her true self to her father. The condition for this development isn't just about tolerance. I continue, watching the mayor's face as he processes his daughter's revelation. It's about active change. Every business that wants to partner with our company must implement comprehensive anti-discrimination policies. Every school must establish LGBTQ plus support programs. I pulled up one final slide, a list of names. These are all the students who fled this town in the past decade, bright minds who could have contributed to our community, driven away by intolerance. And this, I say, revealing another list, are their current net worths, the talent you lost because you couldn't embrace difference. The room falls silent as the numbers appear, millions in collective potential gone. But what's about to come next will shake this town to its very foundation. But before I reveal our final condition, I pause, taking in the tense atmosphere. I want to introduce someone. I gesture to the back of the auditorium, where an elderly man slowly stands up. This is Mr. Richardson, my former English teacher, the only person in this town who showed me kindness when I was struggling. Mr. Richardson makes his way to the stage, his weathered face bearing a gentle smile. When this young man came to me 15 years ago, terrified and considering the unthinkable, I made him a promise. I promised him that one day this town would change. Today, he's not just fulfilling that promise, he's enforcing it. I place my hand on Mr. Richardson's shoulder and face the audience. Our company isn't just building a headquarters. We're establishing a $10 million scholarship fund for LGBTQ plus youth and allies who promote inclusion, and it will be named after Mr. Richardson. The room erupts in applause, but I raise my hand for silence. Here's the twist. The scholarship's first recipient is in this room. Remember that viral post about the lonely kid at lunch? The student who took that photo reached out to me last month. They're here today. A young man stands up, the star quarterback's son. I'm gay, he announces, his voice strong despite his trembling hands. And I've been anonymous running the school's largest LGBTQ plus support group online, the same group that helped save 3 lives this year alone. His father, my former bully, drops his head into his hands. Then, surprisingly, he stands and walks to his son. The room holds its breath and watches as he embraces him tightly. The final condition, I announce, isn't about money or policies. It's about truth. Everyone in this room must pledge to share their own stories of either being bullied or standing by while others were bullied. These stories will be part of a permanent installation in the new headquarters. A reminder that change starts with accountability. As I watch hands raise across the auditorium, volunteering to share their stories, Mr. Richardson whispers, "You did it, son. You changed everything." I smile, knowing that this is just the beginning, because tomorrow, the real work starts, transforming a town built on judgment into a beacon of acceptance, one story at a time. The twist? The headquarters project was approved months ago, but sometimes the only way to heal a community is to make them think they have something to lose, when in reality, they have everything to gain. In the weeks following my announcement, the town transformed in ways I never imagined. The high school's LGBTQ plus support group moved from online shadows into an official club, with the quarterback's son as its president. His father, my former bully, became its most vocal adult advocate, speaking at PTA meetings about the importance of acceptance. Construction on the headquarters began ahead of schedule, Every morning, I watch from my hotel room as cranes lift steel beams into place, each one representing a new opportunity for someone like me. The Richardson Scholarship has already received hundreds of applications, not just from our town, but from across the state. Mr. Richardson, now retired, volunteers daily at the temporary youth center we've set up downtown. The same cafeteria table where I once sat alone now sits in the center's lobby, reimagined as an art piece covered in messages of hope from current students. The mayor, inspired by his daughter's courage, passed comprehensive anti-discrimination ordinances. More surprisingly, he shared his own story of being bullied as a child, starting a chain reaction of truth-telling throughout the community. The installation wall in our headquarters is already full of handwritten confessions, apologies, and promises to do better. The purple-haired student, now interning at my company, developed an app that connects LGBTQ plus youth with local mentors. It's being implemented in schools nationwide. They told me recently that for the first time, they feel seen not for how they look, but for what they can create. As for me, I bought back my childhood home, not to live in, but to convert into a safe house for LGBTQ plus youth who need emergency shelter. The neighbors who once whispered behind closed doors now bring casseroles to the residents. Yesterday, while getting coffee at the diner that used to forget my orders, I overheard two elderly women discussing their grandsons' coming out stories. One said, "Thank goodness times have changed." The other replied, "No, thank goodness we changed." That's the real success story here, not the millions in my bank account or the gleaming new building rising on the edge of town. It's the slow but steady opening of hearts and minds, the quiet courage of kids who no longer feel they have to hide, the ripple effect of one person standing up and saying, "Enough." Because sometimes coming home isn't about revisiting your past. It's about building a better future. And as I watch this small southern town become a model of inclusion for communities across America, I realize that success isn't measured in dollars or buildings. It's measured in the stories we choose to tell, the changes we dare to make, and the love we finally learn to give freely, without condition or judgment. That lonely kid at the lunch table, he didn't just survive. He thrived, and he made sure nobody would ever have to sit alone again.